Hey everybody, Bob Stelton here from the Bob Gross and Tom Show. Good friend of mine sitting right here. Somebody you should go see tomorrow night or tonight, depending on when you're watching this video. Comedian Adam Ray, local hero Adam Ray. Good to see you, man.
Finest, baby.
How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
You're in town. You're doing a show at the Triple Door.
Yeah.
Are tickets still available? As we speak right now, there's like 3 tickets left.
There's a handful left. Whatever a handful means to you, you know, like when you were a kid and you were like bragging to your friends about getting a handful of like, was that 2? How big was the girl? Was it 2 hands? Was she a tiny thing? Was it 1? Was it a couple? So
this is where the edit will come in right here.
No, I haven't said anything incriminating yet. There's a few left, but enough to maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10.
Okay.
Get online, figure it out. The show is, I just came out with my album called Read the Room, and it's an hour of new material from that. So if you've heard that.
I've heard it.
Great.
It's fantastic.
Thanks,
it's really good. By the way, the first time I ever saw you, actually the way I met you, is I saw you open up for Michael Rappaport doing his podcast out there, and you were the opening act, and I wasn't familiar with you at the time, and I saw Adam, and I came out, I go, man, that dude was hilarious, and I hit you up on Twitter. I remember going, hey, great show, and you're like, dude, I listen to sports radio, and we've been best friends ever since.
Yeah, we have. Well, that's what's so cool about, like, you know, just our worlds, because, you know, there's this mutual respect for, you know, just people in our businesses where it's like when you see people with kind of like, you know, doing their thing and at the top of their game, it's like, you know, I mean, and I was fanning out to you being like, man, I'm listening to you guys every day. So like, and then I immediately was like, can I come on the show? And you were like, dude, pump the brakes, you know.
Whoa. This is the first date. Let's take it slow here.
One Twitter compliment. Now you're trying to get in my car and into my dreams, Billy Ocean style. That was dope. And Kemp was on that show too.
Yep. Sean Kemp was there. It was a packed house. And then fast forward, I saw you there last time you played there.
And you came to the parlor a couple times.
I saw you there, but the Triple Door is a big place.
Yeah.
And last time I saw you there, it was packed.
Yeah.
And you were obviously cool enough to put me on the list, but they didn't even have enough chairs. So me and my girlfriend and our buddy at the time, they pulled 3 random mismatched chairs and put us in this up against where the soundboard area was. Yeah. So we'd sit there like this, and the waitresses and waiters kept going by, so we kept doing this through the whole summer.
You were that uncomfortable.
But it was cool to see the place that packed.
Yeah,
I mean, it was beyond sold out at that point.
Cool. I mean, it's, you know, Seattle has so many great venues, and I was doing the parlor for so many years, which is awesome, gave me a lot of stage time, but you know, after a while, you're like, all right, I want to try to like roll the dice and see how my local following is, and also just get into some of these cooler venues. Like the Triple Door is, famously known for music, but then I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, I wonder if they do, and I saw my buddy Joel McHale was doing a show there, and I was like, is that pretty great? And he was like, yeah, dude, obviously play it if you can. So, I'm pumped. And I think there's a lot, I've been doing shows all week in town, just kind of secret shows here and there.
You're just working on material there?
Yeah, I got like all this new stuff, and there's, I'll obviously be doing newer stuff that I've only been doing a couple times, but it's fun for a paid show like this, you don't want to be treating it like an open mic and just be doing like 20 minutes of brand new stuff. But there's definitely a handful of stuff that has only been worked on in the past week. But it's, good enough to keep playing with on stage.
What is that like when you go do these, I guess, unadvertised, unannounced shows? You just go to a spot, whatever it is, and you're doing something for the first, second, third time, and you don't get that response. For me, I look at that from the outside. I've been in the audience before when something bombs and the room's silent, and I start going, oh,
you get uneasy,
man,
right?
I get uncomfortable. Yeah. But I'm guessing you're just probably numb to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's that feeling.
Or does just everything you do work?
Hilarious, yeah. I wish, man. I mean, look, I'm at a point, and I think you're in the same boat where it's like you trust yourself enough to be able to, articulate your thoughts and opinions, but like, yeah, there are times when, I try to really step out of my comfort zone and really try, not rest on my laurels and go to the go-tos if I'm feeling like the couple new things I was going to do didn't hit. It's what comics refer to as staying in the pocket, where it's like, like I was doing this new bit last night about, my girlfriend being on the phone and saying, hey, will you just stay on a little bit longer? There's some really shady guy behind me. And I was like, yeah, for sure, but
how considerate are we assuming this attacker is? Like, he's going to come up behind you and then see you on the phone and be like, oh, sorry, my bad. Hey, let me know when you're done. Like, yeah, finish your call. I'll be right over here. Why did I just tell you where I'm going to be? I'm not going to be there. I'm going to pop up and attack you. I'm so sorry. My name's Aaron. This is my first attack. Why did I introduce myself? This is, and just the idea of that. So, like, it's got a pretty good reaction, and then I kind of kept playing it out, like the guy like continuing to give more information about himself and like a first-time attacker and how funny that was. And I kind of rolled the dice a little bit on too much, I think, and then the crowd kind of started to like bail on me. And I was doing some Biden-Trump stuff, which I don't do a lot of political stuff, but it's tough to ignore some of this stuff that's happening. And you just have to commit. If you don't give yourself a chance to like fully see how the bit can pan out and you bail, as we say, like it's that's the biggest thing, because then you just you get conditioned to follow the routine that you're doing, and you practice how you play. So it's like if you're always committing regardless, and even if it flops the whole thing, you're like, all right, at least I gave it a valiant effort, but I like when things don't hit, because I always feel like I can get out of it, and I recognize it. You have to call attention to it, whether I've got one go-to they'll say about, this being like a great, why live comedy is great. Like, you guys, I was doing this and I tried to say this. And sometimes it's like, you go to Denny's, sometimes you're like, oh, well, I wanted moons over my hammy, but I got hash browns with on them, And like, that's what that bit was for you guys. You guys are like, all right, this is one I ordered, but I guess I'm going to have to eat it because it's here,
Now, do you change your material based on where you are? Because you just brought up, some comics will come right out, and as a matter of fact, I just saw Chris Porter a couple of months ago came out and said, listen, you can all relax now. I don't do any jokes on religion and politics, so you can all just chill.
Yeah.
But if you're in the South,
yeah,
maybe you've got Trump jokes that you do currently that you think will play in LA on the West Coast versus the Deep South. Do you tailor your material based on where you are? Do you say, you know what, this is my joke, and it's going here, it's going no matter where I go?
Yeah, I mean, you want to not actively isolate the audience. At least for me, I'm in a place where I want everybody to enjoy the whole show. Obviously, you can't control, comedy is subjective, so people are going to not like, certain fat jokes or Jewish jokes. Like I made this joke that I just added in the moment about not being in the NBA because I'm Jewish, and then I just added this line about I was like, first of all, Jews in the NBA, like, we're never going to shower in groups again, and that got like a really big groan, but then like half laughter, and I was like, well, I like that joke, so I'm like, I'm not going to stop doing it because of the groans, You can't, but I'm also not out there to like, change the world. I want to be funny and entertaining, and it's like there's certain, at least at this stage in my career, and I'm sure in 20 years there'll be more of a stance I'm taking on certain things, but I mean, the Trump stuff, I always kind of toe the line with it too. You definitely know which side I'm on, but I try to not be so heavy, unless, Seattle is a place where I think you can get away with it.
Right.
Most, blue states, but yeah, I was in like Cincinnati, Kentucky border, and I mentioned a few things about it because some guy said something that was really like misogynistic, whatever, and I was like, dude, yeah, it's very Trumpy what you're doing right now, and this and that, and then kind of went into it, and then he started firing back, and you have to maintain control of the room, so I wasn't just gonna like let him bury me with his stupidity. So then I kind of broke him down, and just, it wasn't that tough. I mean, like the guy had 2 teeth, and I think a toupee, but
and you know this about me, I'm a stand-up comedy nerd.
Yeah,
like,
you love it.
I love stand-up
you.
comedy, and
Yeah.
I totally admire what you guys do. And no matter what show I'm at, there's some dope in the audience that wants to try to out-funny the comedian.
Yeah.
And never, I've been to 100 shows, never once have I seen him say anything remotely humorous.
Yeah.
Or ever get the better of the, I mean, they get annihilated. I mean, do you almost crave that? I mean, because it seems like, because I've watched you do it.
Yeah.
I've watched Adam Hunter do it.
Yeah.
I've watched Bobby. I've watched all these people just eviscerate whoever decides to be drunkenly loud.
I mean, it does make the show, if you can handle that in a way that's going to be, conducive for comedy and keep the control and not be entirely malicious, like, that's what I always try to do is kill it with kindness and give them an opportunity to, like, really, and listen and let them spew out more info, because if you can keep the audience on your side, you just build all this, leverage to slam them later if they continue to be annoying,
Yeah.
So I try to, but when I first started, I wasn't listening, so somebody would say something, and I would just, in my head, not be listening to what they were saying. I was like, oh, you got to think of something funny. There haven't been any laughs. So if they were like, about your shirt, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, dude, is that why you smell like, penises and you nice mustaches. And, what's that? Dude, is that how you get the kids? Like whatever it is. Just something real, like, jab you right out of the gate.
Right.
Instead of like asking the guy where he's from and like really trying to, like when people have blurred out things that have been really mean, sometimes I'll just be like, dude, what's going on with you today, man? Like what's, and just almost like, because again, then you can get some real info out and like, dude, I had one guy that was so mean and I just was like, dude, what's going on? Like your energy, like I feel like you came out here for an escape from whatever's going on.
Right.
It seems like you brought some of that into the room still. So like, what is it? And then he started talking and it got real deep and he had gotten
It became
fired.
a counseling session.
Dude, he got fired from the zoo and like there was this whole like, I mean, we went down this probably 15-minute like tangent about like the way his bosses were treating him and then like everybody took his side and then by the end of it, but then I still kind of slammed him at the end and like, but so that's what's great about those moments is if you can trust to like sit in some silence and like build it up and not just, but sometimes you need to stay on course and if someone's too drunk, you don't want to let them deter the momentum of the show.
Right, right.
But, my mom's coming to the show tomorrow, so I'm hoping if she drinks a bottle of Manischewitz like she said she's going to before, then I'll have no problem.
She'll keep quiet.
yeah, that's how she stays quiet.
That's awesome.
She's a boozer.
Hey, as far as material goes, I know every comic's different. Are there topics you're like, I won't touch that?
Stay away from.
I mean, you talk to somebody like Jim Norton or somebody like Anthony Jeselnik, where I don't care. For him, it's like, I don't care how soon the tragedy happened. I'm making jokes.
Yeah.
Or same with Jim Norton is kind of the same thing. He's like, funny's funny.
Well, I think that's always been their thing.
Are you apprehensive on any topics or timing of jokes surrounding events in the world? Or?
Right. I think if something's funny, man, anything is on the table. And but look, I mean, I think it's all personal taste and perspective. Like, when Louis made some jokes about the Parkland shooting, like, man, I was real like sensitive to all that. But I mean, I think when I heard his joke that he'd done, it was a few months after, and then I heard the joke, and I was like, man, from a joke perspective, it was a really great joke. Would I make that joke? No, but that's just not where I'm at right now. But also, Louis been doing that type of comedy for a long time and has solidified himself as being that vulgar and that that edgy. And same with Jeselnik. And you have to just commit fully. You can't do a couple events or a couple things and then just like pick and choose. You have to, and that's also who they are. And I think that's what they like. You have to do what you like to do and what you think is funny. So when my stepdad's always like, man, you got to get more topical or. Which I'm starting to do more because it's.
I think you're getting advice from people.
I do.
Family members.
Dude, the advice you get from friends. My stepdad is like the pun king of the West Coast, and by that I just mean Edmonds, Washington. But like he just always is. He says what he wants to hear, and he's like, dude, there's so much stuff when I watch CNN, I watch MSNBC. There's so much. I'm like, yeah, George, but like that's not what interests me right now. Like I got to do what's funny to me, and. But I mean, I don't think anything is off limits to answer your question. I think like if it's out there, man, it's printed. Like I heard a buddy of mine make a joke about the Kardashians the other day, like a really nice slam, and people like oohed and awed in the crowd. Like, and it was one of those things I was like, well, they've been around so long that I think we just have accepted them so much that it's almost like, dude, come on, man. Like, what did they do to you? And it's like, dude, what have they done for anybody? Like, they are so ripe for comedy. And I also think it's just good practice to have not anything be off limits to like, so that you can kind of let your guard down and not be so sensitive. I think there are just a lot of people that, I mean, look, I think Oprah, Hillary Clinton, people that you see and you're like, oh, they're probably real serious and whatever. Like they probably love a good dick joke. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure there are people that come across really, but you just have to not take yourself so seriously, and then you can. Inversely look at the world and be like, yeah, dude, there's a lot of, and it's a healthier way to live, man, when you can find the funny in anything,
How much has it changed in terms of the audience's reaction? Because I've heard Chris Rock talk about this and Seinfeld even talking about some of these guys won't play colleges anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because the whole PC movement and so much of what they used to say that people would laugh at is now, ooh, no, you can't say that anymore. I mean, to me, you're going to a comedy show, all the restrictions are gone. It's a comedy show, man. Funny's funny, and if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to be there.
It's also it's subjective. It's like if you don't laugh at something, great, but don't complain about it. Like you have it's freedom of speech getting to say like you came to the show wanting to laugh. That's the thing that always blows my mind is when people come and they just like, I'll see them sitting, and this is like to a fault sometimes, you know, and I think it's a comic mindset. Like the whole show can be great. You see one guy kind of sitting there like this, who's just like not, and I always solo him out and end up going in, and then I'm like, dude, I go, I've been trying to have a good time up here, but like you're sitting there, arms crossed, like looking like somebody just told you the end of how Air Bud 4 ends, and you're just really distraught, you know, and I'm like, what's going on? I was like, this is on me too. I go, because maybe I'm talking about things that aren't resonating with you. I go, so what do you want to talk about? And again, giving it an opportunity to give some info and then build a moment. And but it's also like you take it personal too, where you're just like, you want everybody, you're a people pleaser. Not everybody does that. You just are like, all right, screw this guy for not laughing. But it's like his right if he's not connecting. But then I also attribute, if I see them sitting there like that, I'm like, something else is going on because I've been doing this long enough,
right.
12 years at least. But with everything I'm doing up there, I know that there's something for every, like whether it's about my nieces or old jobs or drinking, like I'm a lot of universal material. Mm-hmm. And with my energy and everything, I'm like, and I know at this point that there shouldn't be anything up here that isn't, can't strike a chord with you comedically.
Right.
So that's why then I go in and I'm like, what's going on with you? But I think college kids don't have enough of a, point of view to know. I think they're around each other being like, do I think that's funny yet? Like,
Am I allowed to think it's funny?
Yeah. I mean, think about, 19-year-old Bob Stelton. Like, do you remember what I mean, it's like you like to think you're like, oh yeah, like I know who I was at this point, but it's like you're still, and especially nowadays with the amount of information and just accessibility for stuff, it's like they're taking in so much stuff. I feel like it's so easy to be like almost told what to think, and they're like, oh yeah, like I saw this printed about this comedian, so they're like, yeah, like that's probably what it is. Instead of like taking a minute and reading it and being like, well, what happened? There's two sides. Oh, Jeselnik made this joke. Oh yeah, the timing I guess was bad, but what was the joke? Oh, it was pretty funny. And like, yeah, he's not a bad guy. He just is a comedian. Like that's his job. That's the thing too, is they're putting us up on these pedestals where it's, I mean, the fact that Trump won't go to the correspondence dinner is just so cowardly. And I mean, it's such a bummer too, because I feel like
there's a lot of good material there.
Oh man, I mean, especially now, like that guy, I mean, it's, I would love to see like Gilbert Gottfried or like, I mean, especially like Jeff Ross, but somebody just like rip him and not even get like too cerebral with it, just straight up hit him with like a bunch of fat jokes. Like I would love that, because like fat jokes don't get old, man. I mean, dude, I was a fat kid. The amount of jokes that were slung my way that I still remember, obviously, because like.
Well, even that doesn't fly these days, fat shaming. And then, I mean, it feels like, I don't know, comedy's just different, man. I understand you shouldn't say it in certain settings, and you're a comedian. To me, nothing is off limits.
Yeah, man.
Right? You shouldn't go there
saying,
job I only want him to joke about the things that I want him to joke. I don't, no, not that. Just stay in this lane.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
what if people were like, yo, Bob, like, I know, like, you think this way about the M's pitching staff and what we're doing with these deals, but, like, just talk about, like, see what the people are writing in and, like, just kind of play into what they like. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would go crazy.
I say no.
Yeah.
No, this is weird.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, career-wise, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff outside.
I got to do some cool stuff.
Outside of comedy, which is the other funny thing. After meeting you, you were in a movie I had seen probably 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And I didn't. The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, which I think is a hilarious movie.
And then you finally watch it with your pants on, and which I think was dope because, like, especially in the friendship, you're like,
it was a little uncomfortable telling you how I watched it previously, but. You had a significant part in this movie, and I didn't realize that was you until you told me, and I'm like, whoa, you're big time. You're not, you weren't like an extra in the background, like, here, I'm guy number 5 laying on the floor there.
Dude. I know.
And then I saw you on an episode of Ballers that you never told me about that you were in, and I mean, you've gotten to do a lot of cool stuff, and I know you got stuff on the horizon, but what's the goal now? Is it, man, I'm always a comedian, and I always want to do stand-up, or I'd like this to lead to a film career, and maybe stand-up gets pushed. I mean, what's the pecking order here?
I mean, I'm still waiting for that call from Dipoto to step out into left field, shortstop.
Well, you'll be on the pitcher's mound. We should tell people.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be throwing out the first pitch.
Oh, yeah, June 17th.
June 17th.
T-Mobile. Does it still feel weird to say T-Mobile? I have to catch myself.
I have to think about it. It's not natural yet.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Safeco was an adjustment, but that's June 17th, and which is so funny because the amount of people that are like busting my balls, buddies, like same thing when Brad Williams and I, who did my podcast with about last night when we played in the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game, we got so many buddies that were genuinely jealous, which I get. Like I would be jealous too because like so many comics who love basketball want to play in that. But with the first pitch, I had some buddies that like kind of channeled their jealousy through like, well, don't screw it up. Like, don't, like, this is a big deal. But like with a certain amount of sincerity, like, don't mess it up. And
They're
I'm like,
hoping you
or
mess it
what?
up.
They're gonna cancel the game, or the M's will lose, which is probably gonna happen anyway. So. And yeah, obviously you don't want to bounce in the ground like Bruce Willis,
Right.
50 Cent style. But yeah, man. I mean, I'd be more nervous to sing the anthem. But yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, look, stand-up and acting are so synonymous at this point. It's like you got to just have your feet in as many pools as possible. And then, you know, as acting grows and stand-up grows, they just kind of, you know, hopefully the next time I'm coming through a bigger venue. And yeah, like playing the Paramount would be like a very... You know, and that's going to happen. And that's just going to be at a point when you go, oh, cool, man. Things have gelled in a way to where people are getting on board, taking notice. You're churning out content in a way that's consistent with what people want from you. And
Would that feel like I made it, or do you already feel that?
I mean, look,
you're
it's
making
all-
this is how you make your living. So you say,
yeah,
listen,
for
I
sure,
made
dude.
it.
It's all relative. It's like I feel like I would have. A small part of me when I got in the heat felt like I made it because I was like, man, I was playing Wolverine at Universal Studios 3 years ago. And now I'm motorboating an Oscar winner. And I mean, it was like, I remember even like, because that moment was so off the cuff. Paul Feig, the director, you know, she's supposed to be like dancing with me all sexy and trying to distract me to bug my phone. And at one point, he's like, Sandra, shove Adam's face in your boobs. So I hear that's coming. So now I'm just like just and
Start sweating.
Oh, dude, trying to be cool. In my head, I'm like, all right, don't get hard, don't fart, like, don't like, you know, like, don't smile too big as she pushes because then she had to push my face down. So I was really trying to like not like just be like, oh man, like it's all better now, you know. Like I saw Fat Adam in a silhouette, like thumbs up at me with a Pop-Tart, just like you got it, dude. Like everything worked out. But like, so that was a point where I was like, oh yeah, man, like. But then you just got to use that to, you know, fuel the fire more. And I mean, I want my own show, and that's, you know, working on that. And I mean, just to work, I think at the end of the day is like what everybody wants, to be able to like continue to be in the rotation of headlining all these clubs, to have that grow, to get better each time. I'm coming back tomorrow with almost an hour of new material since I was here last time. And so that's one of those things that you have to like challenge yourself to do to just get better. I had that on the calendar, and I was like, all right, man, by next year, and you know, I'm not some Bill Burr, Louis C.K., but it's like I get up all the time, so you gotta set those little benchmarks for yourself to push yourself, because you're your own boss, and like there's no one to keep you accountable for this. And same with acting stuff. It's with the podcast and acting and voiceover, it's like treating everything with the same amount of value and importance, so that like I had, you know, this audition before I came down here, and then another one before that I just put on tape, and you know, the old me at some point would have been like, man, it's too much, let me just prioritize. But like now it's like, no, man, if you're gonna do it all, you gotta figure out a way to make it all work. And but yeah, I mean, the playing the Paramount would be a huge, like, because I've seen so many shows. I used to go to plays there as a kid in high school, and like you know, got to do that show with Burr, but like that was like 10 minutes. But to have like a night there, I mean, you see like Joe Coy.
To be on that stage.
Yeah, man, and it's just so epic, and it's like Seattle's premier venue. So, and to have that be just me. I mean, the Triple Door already feels very cool, and to sell it out and have a lot of.
That's a big room.
I got so many friends from high school coming out that like I haven't seen in so long that are.
Do they all want free tickets? Everybody's on the list.
I mean, hilarious. I gave out a few to a friend of mine's charity for elementary school, but a lot of them just bought without, and then told me they're coming.
Cool.
But they're all going to want to hang after. There's a girl named Audrey Clitgard that I went to elementary school with that's coming, which I cannot wait, because, I mean, dude, that's what's great about Facebook. You forget that you go to school with some of these kids, and then Facebook's like, remember Audrey Clitgard? And I'm like, dude, I do now. Thanks for the reminder. Klitgard is her name. Look her up. Right. How does that happen, by the way? Were the options limited at Ellis Island? Like, that is such a... Like Clitgard, I didn't even know what that was in the 5th grade, and I was like, this does not seem fair at all, you know?
Hey, last one before we let you get out of here.
Yeah.
And I know you've probably been asked this 8 million times, but I've never asked you.
Yeah.
I tell you about all the comedians I love.
Yeah.
Who do you like really hold up
on
there?
that Mount Rushmore?
Like you're like, this guy comes to town, I'm going.
Yeah.
I got to see what Burr's doing, or whoever. Who are your guys?
Well, here's what I love about your just comedic, knowledge, is that you also, when you talk to me about guys, you know, you can tell how much people actually spend absorbing stand-up when they're mentioning guys that aren't world famous, or that aren't, like when you're telling me you like Sebastian, I was like, all right, well, this guy knows what's up, you know, because he is definitely well known if you like comedy, but like, you know, is not a Chappelle or like a household name, even though he just did 4 shows at Madison Square Garden and is a beast and makes so much from stand-up, but he's not like in that Seinfeld, at least for non-comedy people. Patton Oswalt is up there. If I had a Mount Rushmore, dude, it'd be Chappelle. You know, Dane Cook was a big reason I got into stand-up and is still crushing it 29 years in. Patton Oswalt for sure, David Cross. You know, Eddie Murphy was the first stand-up I saw. Bobby Lee makes me laugh so much. Sinbad, dude, was the first stand-up that I hosted for on a weekend where I got to just be around him for so many shows and see this guy that was like pushing 60, like just crushing. I mean, he had material about his kids, then he had a material about being married, then about getting divorced, then getting remarried. He had something for every stage of life, and then his crowd work was phenomenal. Greg Giraldo, probably my favorite comic of all time, who, you know, was famous for all the roast. Yeah. But he was just, what I loved about him is his energy. He was so likable. He had, you know, a sharp point of view, and this things kind of irked him, but he didn't seem like a real angry guy, which I don't feel like you need to be to connect.
That is one of the differences between you and a lot of comics are dark, man. Like
yeah, man.
When you talk to them off stage, they seem tortured souls, a lot of them.
And they feel like you need to have this real, and look, Bill Burr still has like a likable anger to him when he's on stage. Yeah. Like you feel like these things bug him, but they're not like, he's not driving his head through the wall. But he you know, conveys that in a way that you're like, all right, I can relate to this because he's making it kind of, you know, absorbable. But yeah, Giraldo just was so sharp and so smart. And I think the best comics too, and the ones that I like Patton again, and even Burr, which I think he sometimes dumbs down on how smart he is, just so that he's not talking over you. But and Chappelle too, man. I mean, you have to, if you want to be great in stand-up, you got to be with it, or just play to the height of your intelligence. Like there's times when I'll meet people in the crowd and they'll tell me a job and I'm like, oh, that sounds like something I should know what it is, but I'm not going to pretend. And it's way funnier to ask questions like I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
But there's this clip that is going to go on the Laugh Factory site in a couple weeks, and I went up there to do a 20-minute set. It was a few weeks ago, and ended up talking to 6 porn stars in the corner. And I know I've already said a couple curse words. I can curse on this, right?
No.
Okay. But anyway, so I asked them what they did, and then they told me through a certain phrase, and then I started asking them, like, and then at one point I was like, you know what? I had some things to say, but this is way more interesting. And the crowd, everybody was on board at this point. Right. So I did 20 minutes on just crowd work with these guys, and the questions and things I kept asking because I was genuinely curious. And one of the guys' names, because I'm like, dude, that seems like the best part about being a porn star is giving yourself a cool name. Like being in a band, you name the band. Like, and I was like, what's your name? And he said, Will Pounder. And I was like, dude, that's a comedy porn name. I was like, Will Pounder. And then, dude, it was, and they all were so generous with their info. And it was like, you know, one of those things too where you're like, how often am I going to get an insight into this world from 6 cast members? And at one point I was like, do you get nervous or do you walk up there like just, you trust yourself, you know the scene? As I go, it's got to be kind of like stand-up where you just, and then I stopped myself, I was like, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. I was like, yeah, what you do is exactly like what I do, you know? We're both trying to make people happy, we're both improv, you know?
We're both killing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
He's going to kill tomorrow night, or tonight, again, depending on when you watch this thing. Adam Ray, local hero, live at the Triple Door. So if you don't have tickets, hopefully there'll be a couple left. I would get down there. Absolutely hilarious, man. Love when you come.
Bob, you're the best, dude.
Love talking to you, brother.
Such a good interviewer, dude. James Lipton, you better brush up, dude.
I'm working on it.